It is 4:45 a.m. on January 1st, 2024, and I was just reading through this. PC Gamer gave Baldur's Gate 3 Game of the Year, and on their Twitter account, they actually say that they want Baldur's Gate 3 to win Game of the Decade. And I think that's just sort of like the icing on the cake, the crown jewel of Baldur's Gate 3 sort of sweeping 2023. And I think it's a great message as we start the new year to think about the fact that really good games that are great in terms of storytelling, cinematic experiences, challenging gameplay. And I think the thing a lot of people really appreciate is the fact that it's just a game that doesn't have any live service attachments to it. There's no microtransactions. None of those things are inherently bad per se, but they can be perceived as bad when they're done in incorrect manners. And a lot of people have feelings about microtransactions and games as a service because they've been sort of overly saturated in terms of the last decade of gameplay. And it's a breath of fresh air to have a company come out and say, you know what, we're not going to charge you any microtransactions. There's no game as a service here. It's just a flat price. You get the game. Here's thousands of hours of entertainment for those of you who are going to be playing through it year after year after year. And for everybody else, it's still a great game that you should definitely play, and there's a reason it won Game of the Year. So I kind of want to read through this and go through the commentary that they had left from their reasonings. So Phil Savage, who's the UK editor-in-chief, said, "It wasn't even close for me. Of the 26 people who submitted nominations for our Game of the Year awards this year, 23 included Baldur's Gate 3, which is unprecedented. Larian's RPG captured the PCG team's imagination like no other game in the last decade." Fraser Brown, the online editor, said, "BG3 is probably my all-time fave. I gave it the highest score I've ever slapped on a game during my time at PC Gamer, 97%. And playing it again, I've only found more things to love." Which, by the way, this is a great commentary. I'm on my second full playthrough, and I've done lots of like partial playthroughs in the early access over multiple years. But on my second official playthrough, I'm on the Xbox Series X now, and I'm playing it now that they've added all the patch content, and I'm finding that there's just way more there than I remember from my first playthrough a few months ago. And there's more voiceovers, there's more storyline content. They've fixed a lot of little things. They've added more nuance for some of the characters, and it's just there's only more to love. So it's like it's just a gift that keeps on giving. It's pretty amazing the way it works. Um, he says here there are countless compelling story beats that are hidden away for second, third, and fourth playthroughs, which is the legacy of Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I would argue, is the replayability of those games and getting completely different, not necessarily overall gameplay, but completely different scenarios as you go through. And it's a game that, I've played over the 20 plus years since Baldur's Gate 2 came out. I've probably played that game 15, 20 times over the years. So if I can get the same runway out of Baldur's Gate 3, it's going to be pretty amazing. Robert Jones, print editor, says the RPG of the decade. What Larian achieved with Baldur's Gate 3 is incredibly, monumentally special, and honestly something so rare and magical that I wouldn't be surprised if it took another 2 decades or more for such an order of magnitude shift in what is thought possible in RPGs to happen again. That's a great comment. As someone who played the original two Baldur's Gate games when they were originally released, I had written this series off in my mind over the past 20 years as something sadly lost to the past. So it was genuinely moving to not just jump back into its world once more, but to do so and have a gaming experience that had literally never been delivered before. BG3 represents the soul of PC gaming, something evidenced by its record-breaking review score, and for me was always going to be my game of the year. Ted Litchfield, the associate editor, says, "In the lead up to Baldur's Gate 3, we talked about the promise of RPG replayability and how it never seemed to quite hold up. I like all the choices I made in Mass Effect, but I think I'll just make them again when I've got a hankering to replay it. Could Baldur's Gate 3 really get people coming back to such a long game committing new crazy playstyles for 80 hours of time?" I've seen it. Like, I'm not the only person going through, there have been people who are already on their like their fifth, sixth playthroughs. People who like I'm not compelled to play honor mode to try to get the gold dice, but like there are people out there who are like achieving that as well. So it's just a testament to the replayability. Um, This individual, Ted, says, I'm hooked. I'm desperately restraining myself from going back to try out the disgusting Bard Thief or Paladin Warlock multi-class builds that have set my brain on fire. I sunk nearly 200 hours into BG3 in a month and a half. I need to give it some time before I dive back in. I tell myself I'm waiting for a definitive edition right now, which is just merely a twinkle in Sven's eye. Jody McGregor, weekend editor, says BG3 feels more like D&D than most D&D video games. I will 100% agree on this, especially with the addition of the custom mode that allows us to. My current playthrough that I'm doing, I've got like all the perception dice turned off. I've got difficulty checks turned off. I don't want to see them. I want it to be like the DM is rolling dice behind the DM screen. And so, yes, it feels more like D&D than most other D&D video games. The heroes of variously questionable morality who act like protagonists of their own stories, scrounging for bonuses to die rolls. Turns out we all abuse the guidance spell. Yes, we do. While other RPGs treat fights like speed bumps to spread out between stages of quests, and as much as I love Rogue Trader, this is one of the issues I have with Rogue Trader because there's way too much boring combat. Almost every battle in Baldur's Gate 3 it felt considered, and the reason for this is because they were handcrafted. So Rogue Trader, as an example, uses random encounters, much like the first two Baldur's Gate 2 games did, and those can be interesting for the first few times they happen, but they can get repetitive after a while. And there's no random encounters in Baldur's Gate 3; they're all handcrafted encounters, and I think there was 300 plus. But that's one of the reasons they feel considered because they've all been handcrafted with tactical designs around them, verticality and everything else. Um, Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. He goes on to say, I don't expect other RPGs to recreate the motion capture conversations of BG3 or the rare chemistry of its wonderful cast, but I'm already finding their reliance on endless filler combat unforgivable. And that is one of my negatives. As much as I'm having fun as I'm having with Rogue Trader, I have already marked it as a negative for my final review because the endless repetitive combat it feels like filler content. It just feels like filler. Um, well, there's a bunch to go through here. Robin Valentine, senior editor. There was no debate, essentially. It was Baldur's Gate 3 in a landslide. It's bizarre that in 2023, an unapologetically old school, fiddly, complicated CRPG is going to sweep the awards. Who could have seen that coming? I don't think anybody could have seen it coming. Like Disco Elysium before it, BG3 has broken through on pure merits of being an RPG experience that is so clever and rich that it's just irresistible. It's also is its scale, possibly dense and reactive, that even now the community is still discovering unexpected interactions and strange choices. Very, very true. In a year full of huge releases from well-established iconic studios, no one could even get close to the cultural impact of BG3, and you really have to marvel at that. Very, very true. Um, I guess the rest of this is just ads because PC Gamer relies heavily upon ads these days, like many other online publications. So there is some really juicy stuff in here for those of you who want to just read through other people's opinions. I know people will say that, oh, PC Gamer isn't the magazine that it once was, and it's not as prestigious as it used to be. But I would say that it's still just another feather in the hat of Larian Studios. And for a guy like Sven, even myself, I've been following PC Gamer since, I mean, literally as far back as I can remember. 30 plus years of gaming. And for Baldur's Gate 3 to win the award for Game of the Year is just pretty amazing. It just solidifies what those of us playing the game already know and have known for a very long time, which is that it's just an excellent, excellent game. And as you head into 2024, I would say if you didn't get a chance to play this game in 2023, maybe you're waiting for a discount, maybe you're waiting for the definitive edition, who knows what you're waiting for. But when you decide to make the plunge, don't be afraid. It's a great game. You will absolutely get your money's worth no matter how much you pay for this game. It's an exceptional piece of content in a world cluttered with lots of really good games to play. This is like one of those cream of the crop that rises out there and stands above the rest. And I can't wait to finish my second playthrough and get on to the third, fourth, and fifth and beyond over the next 5, 6 years. Who knows how long I'll be continuing to play this game, but it's not going away anytime soon. Love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down below. Like, subscribe to the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams in 2024 happening at 8 a.m. Central every day, multi-streaming here and on Twitch, and we do lots of different games. Check out the playlist, join the Discord, support if you can. Until next time, stay safe, everybody. Happy gaming.